Okay, so it looks like I got cut off instead of um, having it continue. So I apologize, but let's continue with this part. And so it's an extended part two. Um, so what are they? Let's look at the occult part of it because we know everywhere, especially government, work with occult, and this is the occult mechanism. So what are they bringing through the veil? Let's talk about that. They're not just cutting programs; they are staging a ritualized, multi-layer operation that functions like a large-scale occult work, like a viral occult workings, right? So number one, scarcity as a sacrament. What does that mean? Withholding food and food resources, right? And which transform material lack into a repeated sacrament, into this loop that I've been talking about. The loop is fear and hunger becoming the offering. Basically, it's like, you hungry? So if I give you this food, you're going to do what I say. If I give you this food, you're going to compromise your values. You're going to compromise your beliefs. You understand me? So large numbers of people repeatedly activating this fear-produced, predictable, energetic return, panicking, lowered resonance, being obedient, really obedient. This is a ritual economy, okay? So you're converting basic human needs into an energy stream that stabilizes low frequency archetypes, okay? Number two, the timing. Timing means portal amplification, right? So the tightening of food access, right? So that's happening around the later part of October, which we saw early into November. It's not a neutral thing. It's not like, oh, whatever. The basically Halloween is a time when the veils are thinnest, so you're performing a policy squeeze during a seasonal portal massively that amplifies the collective effect. So basically, what am I saying? They have coordinated a systematic grid sigil. Systematic grid sigil. This is policy plus media plus timing. Time is part of the ritual. This opens and channels a harvesting. Number three, law, bureaucracy, also as a sigil, right? Ceremonial devices, right? So the bills that they're passing, appropriation, executive orders, executive announcements, court rulings, these are literal written sigils being performed, right? So this is where bureaucracy becomes sacred for closing gates, redirecting the current, right? The movie. Remember, we're using what? Elementals here. So closing gates, right? Redirecting current, right? So they're utilizing water energy a lot heavily, legitimizing the extraction, the pulling. Was that air element? Air element. Okay. Four, media and meme chorus as an invocation. So you're seeing repeated headlines, right? Moralizing language, right? About welfare, fear-mongering stories like we've been seeing. And it's on repeat, right? Sound frequency, sonic frequency. This is what they're using, sonic vibration. The more you hear it, the more you hear it, the more you hear it, it goes into the cell membranes of your body, of your vessel, right? So, waste, fraud, these types of wordings, sound wordings, right? This is about language control, right? Language control. Even when they say, oh, that's conspiracy, language controlling. So this is mass attention focused through these types of narratives becomes the chorus, the song, right? The song that powers the harvest, The song becomes the fuel, right? So you're seeing, oh my God, I don't have any money, I'm working hard or whatever. You guys are supposed to pay me because that's what the food stamp's supposed to be. It's supposed to feed my family. And then you have, oh my God, we need to go to food. It's constant. You're seeing videos, photos, articles. This is all designed, mapped out. All right. Data and ID as anchors. So now you're hearing them throw in digital ID, the chip, right? Policies that expand surveillance. Oh my God, because people are now not going to have food. They're going to steal. A war going to break out. They're going to fight. We have to have control. We got to know who's getting food, who's doing it. You know what I'm saying? Data collection, right? Are anchor points, meaning binding the people, binding through tagging people. That's basically what they're doing. Like what they do to cows, right? They either brand them or they clip their ear and put a tag on them, right? So now we're branding people or we're putting the chip in to tag them. Wake up! Okay. Food access and identity. Identity data is one thing. It goes hand in hand. These two are now married and has become a single grid, right? Where you have this means compliance. Access now becomes compliance, all right? Number 6, normalization and precedence means future portals. So what does that mean? Each successful cut, each legitimized rationings, like remember rations back in the day, becomes precedent. This becomes the thing. It's a ritual seed planted for larger future harvest. So you get to normalize. This is the whole point. Normalizing this is a strategy to make more invasive rights permissible. Okay, this is all because there's no law. Literally, they may talk like, oh, we're passing this bill. There's no law when it comes to human basic rights. They can't change that. They're gonna try and dance it and fairmonger in it where you forget your real rights, human basic rights. So they can't do this. They really can't. But because everyone's off their rocker, they can slip in and do it. So Naj, what do they gain? Okay, and I'll go further in about this in part 3. So I'll just start it off. Here's the payoff, okay? When they're utilizing a cult in the real world, energetic feeding, okay? So they lower and create the population in fear, which generates dense matter emotional fields. That's and it can metabolize, redirect, or weaponize, basically, right? Then you have control and compliance. People depend on a system, right? A system supposed to create your life easier, to compel a political and cultural way. So control is power. Power is access to construct further ritual systems. That's what we up to. And then the last one I go, legitimizing of a new architect, a new structure, a new world, right? Emergency measures that let them, trial and normalize surveillance, privatization, you're going to see that a lot, and data monetization under a disguise called efficiency. This is a future ritual tool that they're using. Join me for part 3. Let me know what you feel about what I'm explaining in the comments below. We'd love to get your feedback and how you're feeling about this. And follow for part 3. Make sure you're following and make sure you get on the wait list because we're about raising the frequency. Get on there. Free webinars coming soon, and I want you there. I love you guys, and I hope this is helping and giving you insight. Stay tuned for part 3.